Hi everybody, Doug Fields here with my good friend Mark Matlock, the president of Youth Specialties. Mark, this is 5-Minute Youth Ministry.
Yeah.
Ready?
I don't do anything in 5 minutes.
Well, I know. That's actually why we titled it that way, because we knew you were coming. I want to talk volunteers. You're not only the president of Youth Specialties, which creates the National Youth Workers Convention, ysteamtraining.com, publishes all kinds of books, but you've been a youth ministry volunteer for many, many, many years,
yeah.
and a key volunteer, small group leader, speaker, the whole bit. Most of one of the questions that people ask all the time is, how do I get volunteers? What do I do with them once I get them? Okay,
yeah.
Go. What makes you an effective volunteer? What is helpful that a person like me does to help you win?
Yeah, well, the first thing is really clear expectations. What exactly am I being asked to do? What are my time commitments for actual events and activities? Are there expectations of me when I'm not at an event or activity? Am I supposed to be calling students, contacting them? Really clear expectations up front. I really appreciate having like a contract or an agreement that kind of says, this is what's expected of you, and this is the time frame that we're expecting it of you. And then there's a time frame usually to reconsider whether I'm going to join again. And I think that's really important because it gives me an exit strategy. I don't feel like I'm signing up for life. And it's actually kept me in the game longer having, an expectation.
Okay, so the resistance to that might be as a youth worker, I'm go, gosh, that seems so formal. It seems so like managerial.
Yeah.
It seems like so corporate.
Yeah.
But why is that helpful
Trust
to you?
me, my church is not corporate at all, but we still had clear expectations and agreements because I need to know when I'm volunteering what is expected of me, and I want to make sure that if I commit to it, I can actually deliver on that commitment. And that helps me succeed as a volunteer. And I think one of the most important things we can do as youth ministers is help our volunteers succeed, help them win. So make sure that we're supporting them with meetings that are valuable, that we have resources available to us when we get in situations with students that are maybe a little above our heads, that we have good support on curriculum and teaching, because that's kind of where it breaks down, where you kind of go, okay, this is a lot more time than what I thought it was going to be. And it's going to be more time than anybody ever expects. Yeah. But laying it up clear at the front is just really good. You get people that buy in.
In Purpose-Driven Youth Ministry, in my book, Your First 2 Years in Youth Ministry, the only thing I put in both is that clear expectations for volunteers, the concept of nothing becomes dynamic until it becomes specific. Mm-hmm. So if you can give me an hour a week, here's what I want you to do in an hour a week. Mm-hmm. If you can give me 2 hours a week, here's what I want you to do in 2 hours a week. Where we hurt volunteers is when we have these thoughts in our mind of what we want them to do, but we don't express them. So we're kind of bummed that, after a Wednesday night program, our volunteers are talking to one another. Then we have to back up and go, wait, when was the last time I said something a year ago? But leadership has to, continue to reinforce those important messages.
Yeah, and I think it's okay to have different expectations, like you said. There are times when I was a Wednesday night leader, but I never did anything on Sundays with the youth group, even though they met regularly there, because that was not part of the position that I offered. And so rather than having an expectation that every time the church doors open and there's a youth event, I'm supposed to be there as a volunteer, I was told, no, this is your area of service, and there were other people that covered the other area based on what they could do. And it kind of just allowed different people to find their gifts in different ways.
Yeah, that's good. One of the things as a youth pastor for so many years, I would have on my to-do list, recruit volunteers, find volunteers. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I get Mark Matlock to be a volunteer, and then I check it off. And in some ways,
trust me, I'm a nightmare volunteer, right?
But in some ways, I kind of turn my back to you and go, okay, I got that done. Let me go do the other things I have to do.
Right.
What are just we got 1 minute left. What are some things that I could do to value you as a volunteer?
Well, one of the biggest things is just don't waste my time. So if we have a volunteer meeting, and I like those regular meetings where we were invested in and we got a chance to give feedback and input, but don't waste the time. Make that time valuable. Be prepared for that meeting. Say you are worth it. Also, check in with me. It's probably more important that you spend time with some of your volunteers than you even with students at times, because they're the ones that can multiply the amount of relational surface area that you have, with students in their lives. And then the other thing is, really take time to get to know me and what I've got going on in my life, and track with me to some extent on that.
That's good.
I have low expectations. I think a lot of people do, but a little bit goes a really
Absolutely.
long way.
Well, as a lead youth worker, when I spend
and don't
time with,
dump on me.
When I spend time with my volunteers, what I'm really doing is modeling to you what I want you to do with kids. So I'm spending time with you, I'm engaging with your life, I'm following up with you, I'm checking in about your heart, I'm seeing how you're doing with the time commitment you've done. So in some ways I'm saying, now what I've done with you, Mark, I want you to do with the kids in your group.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
You're a great volunteer. Appreciate it. Mark Matlock, President of Youth Specialties.